I'd like you to close your eyes for just a moment and recall something that you used to do as a teenager with your friends that you probably don't do any longer, if you do it at all. Some of you might recall playing sports, taking vacations with your friends, or maybe a high school dance of some sort. One memory that I recall is of going to the drive-in theater on Friday nights in the summer of 1989. Me and some of my friends would pile into a car and drive 20 minutes up the road just to go to the drive-in. The drive-in was part of my history, and the same could be said for my parents and my grandparents' generation even. Maybe you can recall a memory of going to the drive-in theater as well. I was inspired a couple of years ago when I was at the Sumner County Museum here in Gallatin when I saw the sign for the Sumner County Drive-In Theater. I have a love for history. Since I was a child, my mom was actually my history teacher in middle school, and she just instilled a love in me for it. And I also love movies. My family always went to the movies quite often for entertainment. So with the love of both of those things, this really fueled my interest in drive-in theaters. Since the 1930s and their creation, drive-in theaters have had an impact on every generation, past, present, and hopefully in the future. I'd like to begin by looking at the past. Since the invention of movies and automobiles at the turn of the 20th century, drive-in theaters were created and made their impact. The first drive-in theater was opened in 1933 by a man named Richard Hollingshead in New Jersey. He created the drive-in, originally called a park-in theater, for his mother, who often struggled to find comfort in typical theater seating. So this would create a way that you could watch a movie from the comfort of your own car. He patented his idea, but by the 1940s, his patent was overturned, and there were nearly 4,000 drive-in theaters by the 1950s. They became an icon of American culture. They provided comfort, they provided family-friendly entertainment, as well as an economical dating option for teenagers. The cost of drive-in theaters at this time was around 25 cents per person or $1 per carload. Check out this ad from the 1950s. It says, "Smoke, talk, relax in your own car. There's always a good show at the drive-in." The impact that drive-ins had on society and culture can be seen through movies themselves. Check out this movie clip from the movie Grease, which was created in the 70s, but set in the 1950s. There was a very memorable scene in this movie set at the drive-in theater, and we can see its impact on society through the scene. There are some other movies throughout time that also have similar drive-in scenes in them. White Heat in 1949, Lolita in 1962, American Graffiti in 1973, Christine in 1983, Pee-wee's Big Adventure 1985, Twister in 1996, and Valentine's Day in 2010. All of these are excellent examples to show how drive-ins impacted society through the decades. Through the years, the popularity of drive-ins has soared and decreased. Let's look at why and where they are presently. According to the New York Film Academy, which is a top-rated school for teaching all aspects of film, they reported in an article for their educational website that as of 2017, there were only 300 drive-ins in existence in the United States compared to the 4,000 that we spoke of earlier in the 1950s and 60s. What happened? Well, improvements to home entertainment came in the 1980s. Things such as cable television, VCRs, and video rentals decreased the patronage of drive-in theaters. In the 1980s and 90s, we had oil crisis and worsening economy, which also meant higher fuel costs, smaller cars, and land tracts could be bought up and used and more profitable if they were malls, shopping centers, and industrial complexes as well. In the 2010s, we began building suburbs outside of cities and large towns. Well, not begin, but they really grew in that time period. And that used up the land that drive-ins often use for their theaters. It also caused lighting problems because of all the suburbanization nearby. And the most recent effect to drive-in theaters has been digital age. Digital age not only provides us movies anywhere at any time, but it's also costly for drive-in theaters to convert to digital from the film that they used to project. During the pandemic, we saw a resurge in popularity for drive-ins. In the Tennessean article, Summer at the Drive-In Movie Theater, written during the height of the pandemic in the year 2020, it states that a theater in Maryville, Tennessee was at max capacity on their opening night. It became popular because it was a source of safe social distancing during the pandemic. Now, since the pandemic restrictions are relaxing, let's consider what might be in store for the future of the drive-in. Some older drive-ins have survived. One example of this is Highway 50 Drive-In in Lewisburg, Tennessee. It's the oldest drive-in in the state of Tennessee. On their website, under the history section, it states that the original drive-in was erected in 1949 and the grand opening was in 1950. They have a little newspaper clip article on their website that shows an advertisement for the grand opening of this theater. Some new theaters have also come into existence. One example of this is the Loco Drive-In in Loudon, Tennessee, which was opened in 2020. And then another drive-in in Alamo, Tennessee, named the Tennessee Safari Drive-In, was also opened in 2020. Dreams of the future, what does that look like? Well, there's a website called August Moon where it speaks about the nostalgia of the old theater setting with grass and gravel pathways, the screen and some old cars, and they're all enclosed with a starry sky. So you have the nostalgia of drive-ins past in a more modern setting. It's a dream that's projected to open sometime in the near future according to their website. And also Sci-Fi Diner and Drive-In in Walt Disney World in Florida is already operational, and it's the same thing. It's enclosed, it's a restaurant, but it has the old cars and the nostalgia of the old setting of drive-ins. Drive-ins may never be what they once were, but since 1933 through the 50s and 60s in their prime and the turn of the century, they have impacted cultural roles. Over the years, their appeal has diminished, and modern technology has all but threatened to make drive-in theaters extinct. As seen in the pandemic, there's still hope for the nostalgia of times past. We may never see them the way they were in their prime, but hopefully we will see some form of them for years to come. Thank you.